right, okay, sorry. There
Oh,
we
you go.
go. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, possibly good night. The reason for that fairly long introduction is because our guests tonight are probably the furthest away we've had from home and are 5 hours, if I believe, 5 hours behind us in their time zone. We are talking to Runaway Parade, who, let me get this right, are from New York. Can you?
Yep.
Yeah, whereabouts in New York are you from?
On Brooklyn in New York City.
Brooklyn and New York City, fantastic. How is the weather over there?
The weather is rainy and
consistently rainy.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. It's really really nice to actually talk to people having worse weather than us at the minute, because we're actually unseasonably warm. And it's one of those things, you talk to anybody from anywhere in Ireland, it's like, what's the weather like where you are? Oh, it just rains 365 days a year. So, you know, you guys have got the curse at the minute and we don't. So
we're on this trajectory right now.
Okay, so let's just kick this off straight away. Paul and I met Gwen and Sam over in Essen, and I pretty much fell in love with their game Fire Tower. There it is. Well, that's actually the expansion, but we'll get to that. It's a pretty game. I saw the game sitting on the table and straight away I thought, I have to have this game. It just looks so nice. But I'm sure you guys will fill us in on a bit more of the details about how it plays and everything. So we'll get to that in a minute, but just tell us a wee bit about yourselves to get this started.
Would you like to go
No,
ahead?
you go ahead.
All right, so it's the problem with both of us being in the same window. We both got into gaming when we were really young. I started out playing cards with my grandfather. I was really into casino and cribbage and games like that. That's how I kind of learned to count. And then I would say Carcassonne was the game that, turned me into a gamer. I think a lot of people say that one. Once I started playing those, that's it. The rest is history. I always wanted to be a game designer. And it wasn't until Kickstarter started coming out that I thought it was actually possible for somebody who was like me, who didn't have, wasn't working for a game company or a publisher, could get into gaming in this way and self-publish. So we had been working on Fire Tower together and we decided to go for it.
Yeah. No, it's weird. I never think about this, but I actually probably played with my grandmother as well. I don't know if a lot of people had this, playing like trick-taking games with the older generation and being brutalized over and over again and saying, well, one day you might be able to beat me. I don't know if I ever won.
I know. It's like we always have this image of, people retire and they start playing bridge, but that's like the hardest game I've ever played in my life. So good games. And they don't let you win. I think my grandfather never let me win. That was probably the reason I'm really still into games. I'm still trying to beat my grandfather.
If they've got to that age when they're retired, that you kind of want to give them that wee bit of respect and kind of let them win, and you feel really guilty if you beat a grandparent at bridge. So
I'll never feel this way. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I mean, you've kind of covered my next question about how you got into gaming. So, I would say for myself as well, certainly through my father as well. We used to play loads of chess and cards and everything. So, yeah, it's definitely a generational thing. And I would say it's going to be more and more like that going forward because gaming's more in the spotlight now. But, so we'll jump across the Paul there. I think he's going to...
Yeah, right.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just find it quite interesting because my daughter is 11, and I literally this week have started teaching her how to do the trick-taking games on the cards, and getting her started, and she wants to play drafts and chess and things as well. So it's quite interesting that everybody seems to start off quite similarly and then build up from there. It's quite getting the strategy side of things in at an early age to try and get that built up. But can I ask you just, how did you come about to make Fire Tower? How did you get the idea behind it to start the whole process?
It's funny. It's become such a labyrinth in my mind trying to figure out the timeline. And we've been working on it for so long that sometimes it almost feels like Fire Tower just existed suddenly out of nothing, almost like something coming out of the primordial soup. It's just there. No one knows exactly how it was formed. But how many years has it been?
Yeah, I think we've been working on this one for 4 or 5 years at this point, I think. But when we first designed it, we actually were going for a walk in the woods. Sounds like we were, thinking about forest fires, but actually we were talking about co-op games and how we really like playing cooperative games because you're playing against the game and you're also playing against each other. And there's that cool interplay in those games. But we wanted to add that, competitive aspect to it. So that was the idea of bringing in, there's a fire growing in the center of the board and you've got to fight it back. But you're also trying to send it, away from yourself and towards your friends. So there's that extra competitive aspect of something that seemingly could be cooperative, but absolutely is not.
Yeah, I feel like
every time Paul and I play, the fire just grows at his side of the board.
Revenge is always after this lockdown happens, we are going to have a massive game of Fire Tower. What made you decide to make it as competitive? Did you try it in a cooperative way first, or did you think the game didn't work as well?
I wish we could say we were like slowly corrupted and moved towards a competitive forest fire game, but it was competitive from the
beginning.
It's kind of funny. We never thought about it being a cooperative game. I don't know. I never really entered our mind that it would be. I don't know.
No,
I don't think we had played any other fire games at that point either. So we didn't realize there actually was like a host of cooperative fire games as well. We only learned that later when we first brought it to a convention. And people were like, oh, another cooperative fire game. And we'd be like, no, it's competitive. And they'd be like, what?
Yeah. I think there's like, how many cooperative? There's probably like 2 or 3 cooperative fire games.
Actually, often we'll be like, it's the only competitive one. And they're like, what are the cooperative ones?
Yeah, exactly.
Does not say that here. The only cooperative, no, competitive. Oh, you need to put that on your flyer.
Yeah.
I will actually say one thing. I got this bookmark from you in Essen, and I love the disclaimer at the bottom here, which says, don't play with fire, which is kind of counterproductive to your sales pitch.
It sounds like it's a joke. I think, honestly, when we were making that, we're like, is this going to incite people to do something terrible? We're like, we need a disclaimer here. We're like, the bookmark told them not to do it. We were just trying to encourage reading.
Yeah, we're kidding, but we're very, very serious. Yeah.
Oh, dear. Well, tell me this then. Can you give us a wee bit of an insight into your creative process, or is it just sort of, I had this random idea? I mean, what inspired you to create this? Where did you go to sort of think about it and dwell on it and develop the game?
I think personally what I love about board games, especially unlike card games, is the theming of something is that you can really, you can be whoever you want, you can do whatever you want. And so this idea of, you don't have to play as a firefighter or as, you don't have to be a wizard or whatever it is. You can play as both nature and be a firefighter in the same game. You can do whatever you want. And so with Fire Tower, it seems like, we're kind of messing with those roles, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. So in terms of the theming, I think we sort of pushed some boundaries in terms of a lot of games want to say, well, who am I in this game, or what exactly am I doing? We're like, no, you can do whatever you want. You can be, a falling, burning tree, and at the same time be, putting out the fire with planes of water or whatever, like things like that. And then in terms of mechanics.
Yeah, I don't know. It was kind of funny. I think it really just, I actually can't believe we have this here. It just happens to be in the corner of the room. I just saw it. This was like the original Fire Tower board. It's just like it's like larger than I am. I don't know why we made it so big the first time around.
Here, I'll hold the other side. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It got to the point where we just started testing it, and I suddenly realized that maybe my favorite game is game designing. I don't know. It's just that it hits that puzzle aspect. It feels very similar to like trying to figure out a very complex game. Like, what can I tweak? What can I tweak about my strategy to make things work more smoothly for me? So I think we really got hooked on that, and just wanted to keep iterating and changing and trying new things over and over again. And that really kept us going creatively. Just that, I don't know, that excitement.
Did you ever get to a point when you were creating the game where you thought, I know every possible way to win this game? this is too easy now. We'll have to make it even harder. And then we thought, the Firestorm card. Let's put the Firestorm in.
Absolutely. And especially with the expansion, because by the time we started the expansion, we'd been working on Fire Tower and just making these tiny tweaks that most people would never even notice, but like fine-tuning the rules for so many years. And then, you know, now we get to make the expansion. So what can we do to make the game harder? What can we do to add, you know, different types of decision making to the game? And so that was a really, really fun process. A lot of ideas that we had, you know, thought of throughout the game making process, but wanted to keep Fire Tower, the base game, really streamlined. Now we could add those in, and it's been really, really fun.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the ideas too, it was nice. They kind of organically came out of just playtesting with people at conventions. Like the 100th time someone says, "Why can't I do this in the game?" And I'm like, "You can. It unbalances it." And then one day I'm like, "Well, maybe you can."
Yeah.
I don't know. You just keep hearing the suggestions over and over again, and eventually you realize that perhaps the crowd knows your game better than you.
Yeah, exactly.
That sort of leads us on quite nicely, because our next question was going to be about, you know, what happens next with Fire Tower. What, you know, what are your plans for the expansion? Can you tell us a bit more? What is the expansion? What's it going to involve? How evil can you be?
Well, I mean, one of the main elements that has enhanced your, I wouldn't say they're evil powers, they're neutral, is the Firehawks. For a long time, people have been asking, why aren't there animals in the game? And we're always like, well, most animals, when there's a fire, they're either just perishing or fleeing. And I didn't really want to, that seemed a little too morbid. So we were doing a lot of research for like animals that influence fire. And then we finally came upon the Firehawks. You know, it's always been known that hawks will hunt on the edge of a forest fire because the prey is being flushed out and they're just devouring everything that's fleeing. And then we found out that for hundreds of years, it's been more confirmed now, stories of hawks actually picking up little burning bits of matter and then dropping them in other parts of the forest to create new fires in order to flush out more prey for themselves. So as soon as we found out about that, basically it was like the expansion is greenlit. Like, we need this element in the game.
Damn you, hawks!
How many hawks are there going to be, and can you train them?
You absolutely can train them. Yeah. Yeah. So we're thinking there'll be at least, I think 18 is our number at the
20.
moment. Yeah. Something like that. A custom little hawk meeples they're going to add to the board. And if fire ever enters a space that they're in, the hawk can actually, you get to fly that hawk to another part of the board and attach the fire somewhere else. So you control the hawks that are in your area. And yeah, use them as both offense and defense in the game. So
one of the cool things we came up with playtesting is we call it the flocking ability. So anytime someone plays a Firehawk card to add Firehawks to their area, you can rearrange any of your own. Because we wanted them to feel kind of fluid and mobile, like they were actually living and they were moving around and interacting with the forest. So that is probably one of the biggest elements we've added to the game, at least for new systems. We've also expanded upon everything else that existed previously. All the other sets of cards, we've added new abilities to those card sets.
Yeah. We've also added, I guess I should talk about the Shadow of the Wood.
Oh yeah, yeah, that is actually fun.
So as a social goal for our first Kickstarter, we added a card called the Shadow of the Wood, which allows players to sort of meddle with the board once their tower has been burned. For the expansion, we've made that role much bigger. They actually have sort of an asymmetric role that they can play and potentially win the game. Actually, it's very possible to win the game as the Shadow now. So that even if your tower's been burned, you still take full turns, which kind of changes the dynamics of the game a bit and is a lot of fun. Yeah. We've been testing it out at conventions and it's been going over really well. We're really excited about that as well.
When can I get this? It will be mine.
We're hoping to launch the Kickstarter in early June.
Yeah.
But you know, everything dependent on the world being in complete chaos right now. It's hard to pin it down exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I really hope we can do it though. We've been really looking forward to this for a long time. So.
Well, stay in touch with us and we will reshare your link when it does go live. I know for a fact I definitely will be on board. Looking forward to it. So
thanks so much.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great game. It really is, and Paul really despairs at it because I beat him. Well, no, he's beat me.
Yeah, But what are your records? What's the win-loss now?
I think I won the very first game and I haven't won it since.
That might be right, actually. I don't know. Well, here's an opportunity where you're probably going to do a shameless plug whenever I say you're stuck in isolation. What would your top 3 games be? You can't go out. You've got any choice, any type, any genre. You could very well say Fire Tower number 1, but that's up to you. Top 3 games. Let's start with Sam. You go first.
All right, top 3 games. I feel like I'm going to steal the one we've been playing
Yeah,
together.
we've been playing them together. Wait.
I'm going to take them all and just leave you with nothing. And you can just like stare at the camera with a quizzical look.
No, you see, this is what's going to happen. You're going to give us the top 3 games, and then she's going to tell you that you're wrong. Am I right?
Very likely.
I mean, one of the games we've been playing the most is, have you guys played Sylveon?
No.
It's you should check it out. It's another fire-themed game. Oddly, we're not now. It's going to seem like we have like a thing, a real thing for fire. But it's this amazing game where you lay out a grid of cards, and basically, if I had to explain it quickly, which I've never had to do before, there's a host of like burning elementals moving towards your forest, and you're kind of like blocking their path with different fountains of water to extinguish them, and like trees to help regrow your forest. And it's just like this sense of impending doom. It has a similar aspect to Fire Tower in that way, where like you're just constantly being overwhelmed and the problems are becoming larger and larger. Except this one is actually, it's a co-op.
It's part of a whole series of games where they created this world. The artwork's really, really unique. It's like I can't even describe it, but definitely worth checking out. Z-Man Games makes it. They do Oni Ream and Arion, and there's a bunch of different games that I'm probably mispronouncing.
Yeah, probably. Maybe that's like, I haven't heard of it because you're not saying it correctly.
Yeah, good point.
I've been playing that. I've been playing a ton of Galaxy Trucker. That one has been very essential. That's almost become a nightly ritual, and it just won't end until 1 a.m. because everyone's like, "Hold on, I want to try one more time. I really want to perfect my ship this time."
Yeah.
And then inevitably, I leave one part off, and then my ship splinters off at the start of the mission, and then I'm left with one engine. That, and I've been playing a lot of, I don't know if you guys have heard of this one. This is a game designer we know as well, Mission to Planet Hex, which is it's a fun game. You're just you get to lay out tiles, and you're like creating space, and you're all attempting to get information in order to fill your mission log and win the game. I don't know. It's
really
very like adventurous game, and you never quite know what's going to happen. So yeah, those are my options.
Okay, over to Gwen. What did he get wrong out of the top 3?
All of them. No, I will agree with all of those. They're really, really good. Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of so glad. I've been hearing about Galaxy Trucker for years, and everybody's always like, "This is such a great game. I can't believe you haven't played it yet." And we just started playing it during the quarantine, so it was like the perfect time to be introduced to something that's so thrilling. And the other 2 are so good as well. Welcome 2 is such a good game for if you're either for solo or just something that kind of the opposite of Galaxy Trucker, a little less chaotic and really fun to try and either best your own score or play against each other. Been really enjoying that one. We play a lot of the Button Shy games because they do 2-player. They're these little wallet games. You can take them with you anywhere. I don't know if you're familiar with any of those, Circle the Wagons or Tussy Mussy or some of those new games that are out. Those are great. What else?
Come on, you can't name one more game of all the games
Well,
in the world?
I've finally been playing season 1 of Pandemic Legacy.
Yeah.
Which I play on Tabletop
Which has
Simulator.
been a strange coincidence.
Yes.
Probably to play her game on Zoom, and she'll come back and be like, "It's terrible in New York right now. Is this the game?"
We started it right before this all started. I want to say we started the game in November. And now we're in the month, like we're in April, because we've been playing it pretty slowly. And it's a little freaky how much it's matching up with reality. Like New York has gotten really badly hit. So I'm afraid I don't want to start telling the future with this game. So I'm like, let's slow down and wait till things actually happen, then play the month afterwards.
It's okay. You're not playing Jumanji. It's okay.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. We're like, we keep saying, is this Jumanji? I must have heard this is Jumanji. Yeah. Yeah, so fantastic. Great choice for right now.
It has been a good time for games.
Yeah. Yeah, it really has been. That's like one of the cool things that's come out of this is having the time to, break down that shelf of shame also and open all those games that we've been waiting to play but haven't had the time. So
Yeah.
Can I ask, Gwen, now that you've had all this time in quarantine in lockdown to play all these other games, are you getting inspiration from all of these games towards ideas for the future? What comes after the
100%.
expansion?
100%. The next game we make will be like the perfect combination of Galaxy Trucker meets Sylveon. No, I'm joking. No, definitely. And like as a game designer, you're always inspired by games you play and then still wanting to be, unique and innovative on your own. So the more games we can play, the better.
Yeah.
I love it.
I feel like I'm often jealous than inspired.
Yeah.
I'm like, I wish I had come up with that mechanic, and then it pushes me like, all right, I'm gonna have to come up with something else that's just as good.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, do you think your next game will be a bigger game, or are you going to go smaller pocket-sized game, or have you even thought anything along those lines yet?
Yeah, likely smaller. I think we we sort of bit off a lot with Fire Tower. It was our first game that we manufactured and produced.
Yeah.
So, why not throw 135 like quarter size gems into a box? It shouldn't be a problem. And then all of a sudden you're dealing with shipping and manufacturing costs and, somebody in, Taiwan is missing a piece that you have to now ship to them. We sort of, took a crash course and all that stuff by doing a not heavier weight in terms of play, but heavier weight in terms of like literal
plastic.
And it was really good. But I'm excited to, make something that might be a little easier to fulfill and create, just so that we can get games out quicker. This one took us a really long time, and I'm really happy with it. And Sam, you were happy with it, right? We put our heart and soul into it. But it would be nice.
I would say a lot of first-time game designers probably would have went down the path of using cardboard tokens for the fire instead of gems. The gems are a very nice touch, though. In my opinion, they lift it to that next level.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it really was a nice touch, and it really makes all the difference with the game.
That is our dark secret. Initially, they were like the first convention we ever went to, which I feel like that whole convention, it was amazing. That's what made us actually think this was possible. But at the same point, we were so terrified, we almost threw out all the games before we got there. We were in the parking lot like, we could leave. No one would ever know that we tried to show our game here.
Yeah, and the fire pieces were tiddlywinks.
Yeah, they had tiddlywinks. They were little red tiddlywinks. And everyone was like, this doesn't really feel like fire. So then the long search began for this piece.
Well, listen, we are coming up to the end here, so if you have any questions, anything you'd like to say, if you want to get a plug in for your Kickstarter date, the floor is now yours. Go ahead.
Thanks.
You want to go?
Okay. So we're going to be launching our Kickstarter, Rising Flames. That's the first expansion to Fire Tower in probably the beginning of June. And we're offering a free mini expansion. It's a different type of hawk. Sam keeps calling it the Mega Hawk.
Don't make fun of the Mega Hawk. I started floating that at conventions because people were like, what are they called? And I didn't know. And I was like, I'm thinking of, for now, calling them Mega Hawk. And everyone would do that. I'd be like, Mega Hawk, great. And I was like, really? And now I've grown fond of it.
So these are another sort of species of firehawk that you can add to your game for free if you're on our mailing list and you back on day one. So just a little bit of an extra thing for our community that's been supporting us all this time. We're so grateful to everybody that we meet at conventions, and that's honestly been the best part of this whole process, is just getting to know all of you and getting to play games with you. It's been so much fun.
Excellent.
Oh yeah, and we're Runaway Parade games. I don't know if I ever got said.
Everyone's like, wait, what is this thing though?
I see Justin has disappeared, and I'm just thinking our time has probably ended. Oh, okay. Here he comes. He's back. He's jumped back in.
Oh, I'm back. I'm back. Don't know what happened there.
Where did you go?
You know, I saw your finger come out just before you left. You were like, "I'm out of here."
I don't know what happened there. Apologies. I'm back. I was dealing with a forest fire. So no, it's been good to have you, and I mean, it's always good to talk to designers. It's really good to talk to game designers with so much enthusiasm as yourselves, and
Thank you so much.
keep in touch. And if you'd like to come back and do another update whenever Rising Flames releases, we'd be more than happy to have you back.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Yeah,
Well,
been great talking to
Thank you
you.
so much for having us on.
Thank you.
not a problem. No, yeah, totally. Thank you guys. You know, I mean, it's always nice to talk to other people, and especially to 5 hours away. Well, not 5 hours away. 5 hours behind us, I should say. So yeah,
5 hours behind.
hours behind. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it's
well,
easy for us.
again,
You know, you're the ones. You're the one with the setting sun now. We still have a day ahead of us.
it has disappeared during this conversation.